Hey, it's the CHGO White Sox podcast. Is that good? Let's just do that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
I like it. Nice and tight.
It's clean.
We're not spending a lot of time on the cold open. We're just doing it. We're just getting right into it.
Not going to drag it out.
No, not dragging it out at all. Just nice, clean, tight.
Way too long.
CHGO White Sox podcast.
Make this dirty. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio B of our CHGO. Hold on, Joey. From our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago, I'm Sean Anderson. Alongside me, Joey Christopoulos. I need you to leave up that frame for just a second because, yes, we're talking about Jerry Reinsdorf today. We're talking about the possible budget, handcuffing Chris Getz's decent work so far, and I just loved the fact that you chose this photo where clearly Jerry Reinsdorf should not be walking away from the Mark Burley unveiling of his statue, and yet Jerry Reinsdorf is walking away, and this man, I don't think it's Scott Reifert or not Bob Baffert. That's a completely different person. I don't think it's Scott Reifert, but it kind of looks like Scott Reifert. I do wonder if it's Reifert just grabbing him in the back of the shirt, being like, Jerry, no, you can't leave just yet. So, fun time.
He's just doing check, please.
Yeah. Yeah, he's waving to people. Hey, he's got to soak it in. He's not out there on the concourse that often. He's face of the fans, face first. You like to see it. Excited for today's show. We'll be talking about a recent DFA'd Tiger that I like. We will preview the upcoming 40-man deadline roster, or the 40-man roster deadline. That's happening at 5 p.m. Central, pretty much when this show ends. So I'm going to have to make a guess on who or who will not be Rule 5 eligible. Very important, as the Sox have the number 2 overall pick in the 2026 Rule 5 draft. They took Shane Smith, number 1 overall, so we should have at least a pretty good choice if the Rockies don't take our choice, 2 overall. We'll later be joined about halfway through the show by Chris Lenuti. I am very, very upset at myself realizing I don't think I've had Chris on before. He is the host of the Sox in the Basement podcast. He also hosts the EP pod because, of course, he does. He's a Brother Rice alum. So you're going to have so much Brother Rice in your face that I hope it makes you disgusted and sick. Chris graduated in 95. I graduated in 2015. Let's see how many people we know together. All right, it's going to be about 10 minutes of me asking Chris, do you know this person? No. Do you know this guy? No? Okay. What about this? No? Okay.
So wait a second. This is your 10-year high school reunion? Are you going?
Oh, I haven't gotten the email, but brother.
Are they doing it?
No, and I guess it would have been last year, too. It also would have been, I graduated in May of 2015. So wouldn't it have happened like in the summer or like around May?
I thought you'd be the class of 15, which would probably be celebrated sometime around now in the next couple of months.
It's the opposite of the Super Bowl. The Bears didn't win the 1985
so you're the class
Super Bowl.
of 2014
Super Bowl.
Yeah, you're the class of 2014, but you graduated in 15. So it would have been last year. Is that what you're saying? And did you go?
I'm not the class of 2014 because the class of 2014 it's 2013 to 14, the 2014 to 15. It's like the NBA championship.
So when is your 10-year reunion? Are you going to
I don't think they're having one, Joe. I think it was an all-school reunion rather than like a class-specific one.
Bummer.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like
I do.
Yeah, it's like the NBA championship. But like right now they're starting in 2025. But it's not the class of 2025. It's the NBA 2026 champion. Anyways.
Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oklahoma City. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Wow. Alex Caruso. What a player. Jalen Williams.
Alex Lange, bang, from the corner.
Well, yeah, we could talk about Alex Lange in a second. Anyways, we'll have Chris on, and it should be a fun time. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Some fun things have happened. One, the Royals hired Marcus Timms as their hitting coach. So if you say it can't happen to you, Marcus Timms is now a Royals coach. Jason Bourgeois is now the first base coach of the Orioles. And former White Sox Max Stassi is now the catching coach for the Angels. So the White Sox coaching pipeline seems to be developing. Grady Sizemore is now the bench coach in Minnesota. for not Derek Falvey, but who's the guy that they just brought in from the Pirates? Derek Shelton. Yeah. But Grady Sizemore is now a Minnesota Twin. It's pretty exciting to see that the White Sox might be making waves in baseball. It's not exactly who you want.
Pedro Grafal?
Well, he's still jobless. Mike Tozar, he's still jobless.
Yeah.
Don Cooper, jobless.
Don Cooper.
Yeah. Ricky Renteria should have a job, but that's a different story. And, the one that you'd think would have a job already would be Ethan Katz. So I think that there's even more possibility that at some point, another coach that the White Sox fired will be picked up by a different team. That feels good, folks. It feels good that we could feel like we can upgrade, and other teams are like, wow, they let this guy go? Tim's didn't really bring anything over-exciting to the game. I don't think there was many things that stuck out from his tenure. There was the, not Adam Eaton moment, it was the Kevin Pillar moment, where Kevin Pillar hit a homer in Minnesota, and John Triffin's like, hey, he's been doing a lot of work with Marcus Timms. And then I think maybe a month later, Pillar was gone. So it's like, okay, made an impact on Pillar. He changed Vargas's swing, but I don't remember specifically Timms having a lot of say in that. I think it was more of a fuller thing watching old AAA tape of Miguel Vargas. So I don't know. I think he has good game experience.
We're happy he's got a job somewhere else, but let's be honest, we're fine.
Well, right, but that's the thing is like, it's kind of the James Franklin thing. Now that you're seeing all the Penn State possibilities, you're like, is James Franklin the right coach for Penn State? Like, it looks like out of all the candidates that Penn State could hire, the best option for them might be James Franklin. So it's kind of, you never know when you're letting go somebody if you can actually upgrade. But I feel a lot better that Showman's here. He's a former Sox fan. I was a little upset that he was on with our Chuck from the car, from the driver's seat, and didn't have a White Sox hat on. He goes about like being a coach dad, and that's cool. Hey, it's good to be a father. Glad you made that choice. But you're a White Sox fan? Didn't have a hat somewhere you could bust out?
Come on, Coach Dad.
It's not like you're waiting for the team to send you some merch. Like, apparently, you're a Sox fan. You should have some Sox merch. I don't know, but I do like
best logo in sports. So at least have it at the ready.
I do like the energy that he's bringing too. The thing that I saw clipped by Joe Binder was Showman greeting Eric Wagman in the Miami Marlins bench after Wagman hit a home run, I believe, in Boston, and he said, "Hell yeah, you ginger F." Like, I really like the loudness, the veracity, and the excitement that Derek Showman has.
Let the lottery for nicknames for Chase Mydroth begin.
Yeah, I think the thing about Tim's was Tim's a little bit too reserved, where Showman, in a way, you got to match the energy of these young kids. I mean, Colson Montgomery is very excited after he hits a home run. Kyle Teal is screaming just on a ball that's hit in the infield. I think you have to be there and have the same amount of passion to help these kids grow as they have in making their dreams come true. And I don't think Tim's is not passionate about being a coach. I just think that Showman's trying to cut his teeth. Tim's had a long career as a baseball player. That was really his proving ground. And now in coaching, like, it's another step to help the generation. But I don't think Tim's is really looking to cut his teeth. I mean, he was out of a job for 2 weeks, and he's already has a job. Right? He's a pretty established name.
Yeah, is it fair to also think maybe it has less to do with Tim's, but has more to do with if you aren't 100% sure with him, you got to make the move now based on the point that you are making, because you don't want to go too far down the road or too far down a development path with any player, XYZ, and then pull it out and then change it all up with them a year down the road. Like, now is the perfect time to just go out and find a fresh voice, a new voice. Hopefully it works, and a guy that can be with the organization for the 4, 5, 6 year developmental window of a lot of these players.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing that we'll talk about with Chris in a second. Lanuti, who will be on after the first break, host of Sox in the Basement. There's a lot being put on player development, and they have to get it right. So if you are wondering, like, I don't know if this is the right guy, Chris Getz is truly putting all of his eggs in this basket. And when they say they were having, like, long, in-depth, like, writing tests for these people, they were having panels and boards. Like, Like, this seems like just as important of a hire as Will Venable was. I know a lot of that's corporate talk, but I do appreciate kind of the sterileness of these hires. It's like, no, we're just looking to improve these guys. So who is, at the end of the day, going to help these players develop most? And it's people that can connect to these players at the end of the day. People that can connect to the stories, understand how to connect with that person and to break through onto the other side. I think another Brother Rice legend there. Who's the guy that plays the keys for the Doors? Ray Manzarek. So wow. I think that this is just the hope of surrounding the organization with the right people to then see the players that they do have, that they likely won't be flooding in through free agent money, that they can actually see the development that we wanted to see in that 2021 to 2023 stretch and never got. This is mainly Chris Getz saying the only way that we are going to have a successful Major League Baseball team, at least under this current regime, is a Brewers Rays style of, we got to develop these guys. And if we don't, we really don't have anything to even trade off if they do become like a Garrett Crochet where we know we can't extend them, different subject, but we still have to be able to get something and flip that into possibly two hitters on the infield, whether it be Montgomery and Teal right now, Teal and Mydroth, and then maybe a bullpen arm in Gonzalez. I did hear the ring of a guest, so let's take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. I'll take about 2 minutes to let you know about some of our adverts, and then we will go talk to Chris Lenuti of Sox in the Basement. Stay tight here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We want to let you know about our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Sign up using code CHGO365. New customers, when you make your first bet of $5, you get $200 in bonus bets, whether that bet of $5 wins or loses. And they have a ton of offers throughout the NFL season. On Thursday night, they have a $10 safety net bet. On Sunday night, they have a $365,000 jackpot of bonus bets that you could take advantage of or maybe get a split of if you are able to guess the first touchdown scorer in a way right. If the guy that you bet on first touchdown score scores the last touchdown, then you get the share of bonus bets. Go check it out on Sundays. Mondays, there's a 50% super profit boost token on same game parlays. And with the NBA, you also have a fun $10 same game parlay bet, safety net bet on Tuesdays. But whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. There's a Blackhawks game tonight that you could check out as well over on Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Sign up using code CHGO365. Must be 21 plus. If you or someone who has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in-app only. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Mando. I am smelling fresh because of our friends over at Mando. They can tell you about all of their favorite scents. They could bring up the Pro Sport. They could bring up the Bourbon Leather. They could bring up the Mount Fuji. But the one that you have to try is the Clover Woods. I see it in the cream tube on the lower third there. You could try the cream tube. I really like the cream tube over the typical stick deodorant. But Clover Woods is my scent. This is my go-to deodorant. It's a whole body deodorant. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO is being misdiagnosed and mistreated. So go check out their starter pack. It's perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant and cream tube deodorant, so you could try out the two variants, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code CHGO at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness. Let's say hello. I guess that's not really the best segue. We're talking about someone who stinks to Chris Lenuti.
No, he's talking about
hello,
freshness.
Chris. Hello, body odor, Chris Lenuti.
That was a perfect intro. I absolutely love that one.
Happy to have you on, Chris. I think this has been long overdue. I thought for some reason at some point, whether it was with Herb and Vinny or just at some solo show, we would have had you on. But this is your first CHGO appearance. Am I wrong?
I know. I'm pretty excited about it. Like when you reached out to me, I was like, wow, that's exciting. Like I've had it all day on my calendar. I haven't been able to wait.
Well, I'm excited to have it. And the thing that's really the regret is there's two Brother Ice people in the White Sox podcasting world, and this is the first time that we're talking. So that's like the true regret, is that I at least had someone on the South Side the whole time that could relate to my career background, and I haven't talked to him. So welcome in, Chris.
Right, and I even have a kid in that school right now. Like, I'm a tuition-paying dad right now of a Brother Ice senior and water polo player over there. So I mean, I'm a contributor to the Brother Ice community right now.
Is he class of 26 then?
Class of 26, that's right. Dominic Lanuti. He's just gotten all of his college applications in, and he's been accepted to a few of them, and I'm just trying to add up the total that it's going to hit his father with.
Hopefully he picks an school state, or maybe he got a nice scholarship offer.
I might have to add a few more. I might have to add a few more podcasts. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, what's the water polo school of the nation? What's the Alabama of water polo? Maybe you can get on there. But no, very fun to talk to you. Yeah, you're 95 of Rice. I'm 15. If Dom was 1 year, 1 year before, it would have been a perfect 95, 15, and 25. Anyways, means nothing. Anyways, Chris, I listened to not your last podcast because you just put one out today. I listened to the one from 4 days ago where you're talking more about the budget stuff. And this is where I got the headline from. You were reacting to, I believe, what Merkin put out from Chris Getz talking about the budget for 2026 and how they're not really going to be aggressive in 2026. If they sign people, it's mainly going to be for 1 year to hold them over. The main question I have for you, because I know you could bring the heat against Jerry Reinsdorf, do you think there's any fairness or legitimacy to not spend in 2026 because of the lockout in 27?
See, that's the thing. I just feel like there's always an excuse. I feel like we're constantly trying to come up with a reason why they don't act like a major market baseball team, but I just see it as excuses. I don't see everybody else in baseball saying we're just taking off next year. And my big issue, and I brought this up on the show that just came out, is that we've been told this lie now for at least a decade. And at the beginning, I believed it, just like I think so many White Sox fans did. And I think some White Sox fans still, not everybody's figured out that it's a lie, but it's really been exposed. The idea that the only way to be competitive is to tear it down to the studs, develop young players, let those guys get their at-bats. And then there's going to be this moment where you strike in free agency, spend a bunch of money, and you're going to get everything you need to have a competitive team that's going to suddenly go from bottom of a division to contending for a World Series. And I think that's why you don't want to take off 2026, no matter what could happen in the offseason between 26 and 27. Because, all you need is, let's say, somebody's fiance, what was that, Wheeler, that we were trying to pick up a few years ago, deciding she would like him to take a little bit less money so she can go to Philadelphia. And the next thing you know, you have Dallas Keuchel instead. You don't want to go into an offseason saying, okay, it's time for us to compete, but we need to go out and get 6, 7, 8 pieces. We have to convince all these guys to come to the White Sox. We have to convince them to take the money we're offering over other people, and it all has to fall perfectly for us to take that next step. I think in the offseason this year would be the perfect time to add 1 or 2 multi-year deals if you needed to start to build up your team and continue to get these young guys the support they need to develop. Don't put everything on Chase Meidroth and Kyle Teal and all these other young guys that are on this team. Bring in somebody that can hit some home runs. Bring in one solid piece into your rotation. I understand you're never going to spend the number 1, number 2 starter thing, and you're going to have to develop that, but you should be able to add a little bit. And unfortunately, Chris Getz isn't going to get that support from his owner, but I do have faith in him, Sean. I actually believe that this guy knows who his owner is. And I expect some interesting trade possibilities, some moves made, because he knows he can't just go into next year with the same lineup. He's got to make some adjustments. And you're going to have to watch and see if Chris Getz can get creative in spite of Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yeah, isn't it weird to kind of like the GM?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I was the first person to say this is not the guy I wanted. And I say it all the time on the show, like I didn't want him. But man, I have a hard time criticizing somebody who, when his owner says, I'm not going to give you the money and support you should get, says, okay, then I'm going to build new facilities down in Latin America, and I'm going to change the way we do international scouting, and I'm going to clean out the bad in my scouting department, and I'm going to restructure who does what and who reports to who, and I'm going to bring in a guy like Brian Bannister to be my pitching guru, and just everything that he's done. it's like, oh, you're not going to give me any money? Well, I'm not going to sit on my hands. I'm going to find a way to build the right structure so that if I do get the opportunity to make this team better, I can.
Yeah, right. And I was with you too. It just felt like Jerry walked down the hall and said, Chris, you're up. But I'm just glad that Chris had a fire under his ass and he really took the reins and hasn't really messed around with it. And that's why I agree with you that it does feel like 2026 might be a year missed out on something. I got fairly laughed at for my headline yesterday, which is fine. The realistic dream of possibly reacquiring Fernando Tatis Jr. But when you talk about, going out and getting a one-year starter and Jerry's, allergy to that, he was once talked into the idea of spending $275 million, not $300 million, but $275 million on Manny Machado and then bringing in Yonder Alonso and John Jay to sweeten the pot. But about 6 years ago, like that 275 is pretty close to the 297 that's left for Tatis. The 27-year-old Tatis is very similar to where Machado was at 26. This would be the youngest free agent on the market. If the Padres are truly in a pinch financially, this is where a team in the third market should be able to come and relieve that. But we just have never seen that from Jerry Reinsdorf outside of the Albert Bell signing that I wasn't even alive for.
I think the last time I saw a forward-thinking move was the Freddie Garcia signing. Remember, they got him when they weren't actually going to win anything that year, and they went out the trade deadline, they brought him in, and they used the fact that he had a good relationship with their new manager and Ozzie Guillen, and they were able to negotiate an extension for him after they got him into the organization. That's probably the last time that I saw them look ahead at something and say, look, we're not going to win anything this year, but we can't go out and get every pitcher and every need position in one offseason. And I really haven't seen that since. And again, that's my biggest fear of this offseason is that they won't be able to make the moves that reduce that number of free agent signings or need positions or needs in the rotation that they will have to go out and get when they finally say, okay, it's time to flip the switch and spend the money. And you want to see them do something. The problem with these one-year deals is, sure, you may be competitive. They could go out and they could get a few players this year. They could add a couple of home runs into this lineup. They could remake the lineup a little bit, give more support to the young guys. At least that would be at least better than doing nothing. But then the problem is when you go into the 26-27 offseason, now all of a sudden you have to replace those guys as well. And that's my biggest fear with this team.
Yeah, and we've seen a fair amount of one-year deals since the 2023, 24, and 25 deadline, and it seems like the only ones that have been like worth the wait is the Caro trade, getting rid of Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez. And part of the reason that had value was because the Angels were unaware that Giolito was getting divorced. And 2 years later, they're blaming that as the reason why that trade failed out. So, part of the reason they've had success trading is because they traded with the worst team in Major League Baseball, or one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball, and the Angels. Yeah, no, the forward-thinking idea is right, and I think it's tough for White Sox fans because I know that the 108's doing it with all their trades right now with the AL and NL. I know you guys specifically as well. Like, it's tough for us as fans to like forecast these hidden gems, and it takes a lot of us to like need to put faith into this front office to find those hidden gems. And it's weird to have faith that Fuller and Getz and Bannister can possibly do it, but still, I think we even need to see more. Where you look at the bullpen in the past 2 years, nothing screams Brian Bannister's success. There's no guy heading into 2026 where it's like, oh, look, Brian Bannister developed that guy in our bullpen. There's the guys that are in there are fairly question marked as they are.
Well, I think that they have a surplus of a few things they can go out and make moves for. We've talked about on the show that they do have an awful lot of fourth and fifth starters that are controllable. Like, look at how many guys are pre-arb that really could go in and be a fourth or fifth starter for a team. And that is something that some Major League Baseball teams are missing. And they may have to package somebody like a Sean Burke and a Lenny Sosa together to go fix something else that they want to go and fix, or bring in a AAA player that's on the cusp and continue to make just little moves. Because I think I heard you mention something about Sosa earlier on while I was getting my headphones on and stuff, and I might have missed it. But the idea that like you have a guy, I don't know what position he plays. I don't know what he really does, because defensively he's not a good defensive player, but he did produce power. He did have some nice runs during the season, and he may be something that another team would say, yeah, we want that kind of low salary, we can move him around kind of backup. We can bring him in if we need some pop off the bench. Like, he may fit that mold for somebody else who then may have, let's say, a first baseman that's blocked right now. Because those are the things he has to kind of look for. He shouldn't have to do this. That's the thing. I mean, I go back to it. I'll keep saying it. He shouldn't have to do it. And I don't know if the reason is Jerry Reinsdorf has one foot out the door because he's getting ready to sell his team in the next couple of years or die. I don't know if it's because he's worried about what's going on with the next labor thing. I don't know if it's because he thinks that most White Sox fans dislike him and he's like, forget those people. But somewhere along the line, we have an owner that's not going to give him all the tools he needs. But I do think that I've seen just a little bit. I've seen enough. I've seen enough for hope. I've seen, Ryan Fuller figure out the Colson Montgomery paradox. I mean, did you believe at the beginning of the year, looking at what he had done, and that at every level, his numbers kept getting worse as he moved up through the minors? And then it was like, well, this guy's toast. And then they figured something out. I didn't believe it. I laughed about it. I was like, well, they're going to bring him up for the Colorado series, going to have a good couple of days, and then he'll fizzle. And he didn't. So, I mean, I have to admit when I'm wrong. And I have seen a few little bright spots, and I have seen some thought behind the moves that are being made in the front office. So I'm clinging to hope that in spite of what's going on coming out of the purse of Jerry Reinsdorf, that the front office can figure out a way to at least continue to progress this team, if not at the speed I want them to progress them this offseason.
Yeah, if you told me before this season Colson Montgomery finished 5th in AL Rookie of the Year, I would have been like, man, he really pushed through 155 games from opening day. And wow, he hit 22 home runs. What a feat. Like, no, I would not have expected him to play the same games as Roman Anthony and arguably be better than Roman Anthony. Like,
yeah,
at least
we made that argument. We made that argument that, like, he actually had one heck of a rookie campaign, even if it was in the back half. And he is playing on the White Sox, and there'll always be a little bit of a bias, and he probably deserved to be slightly higher. And that's saying something. Look, he projected out to being an over 40 home run hitter. And gosh, if you get that next year from your shortstop, I mean, that's why you don't want to sit back and do nothing this offseason.
Right. I think we looked this up. I think the only players to hit 40 from the shortstop position is A-Rod and Ernie Banks.
Right. Right.
Pretty good company to share.
They're going to save this video, though, for when he hits 12 next year, and people will make fun of us for it. Yeah.
Well, just to go down that Getz route, because this was a question asked to me, and I think it's a possibility. I think Jerry's done after this labor negotiation. I think that he's interested in being a part of labor negotiation and shaping the future of baseball. So I think part of the Ishbia agreement of him opening that window in 2029 to 2034 is to get past this labor window. But I think if we're out of that labor window, I do think that since you have allowed this wolf into the chicken coop, I think at some point before that 2029 window opens up that Ishbia will take over. Am I wrong on that?
Isn't that the most Jerry Reinsdorf thing in the world? Like, I know you're younger than me, right? Class of 15 from Rice, I'm class of 95. So there's a 20-year difference, right? But I was at Brother Rice when the 94 work stoppage happened, okay? And I remember it vividly. And wouldn't that be the most Reinsdorf thing in the world to do? I'm going to leave baseball, and I'll be in the ground in less than a decade, but I'm going to affect Major League Baseball's future before I leave, and probably be a pain in the butt about the whole thing and make it worse. Like, that's the most Jerry Reinsdorf thing that there is. His PR department will talk about how he's great, but everybody else is going to look at that and say, again? I'm always surprised how Major League Baseball lets him get away with it. I mean, think about it. It's the third biggest market in baseball. I understand Bob Nutting getting away with it for the Pirates. I mean, it's Pittsburgh. But here in Chicago, like, the idea that he runs his team this way, it's shocking to me. But look, if that's the case, I'll take it. Because the moment he's out the door, even though I don't know enough about what the Ishbias are going to do, and I don't know how much it's going to change, I don't know if it could be worse.
That's what I'm thinking too. Fingers crossed it can't be worse. You also look at the other team in town, and it's like, they're not that different than what we have currently. So, I just think you're right. I don't think it can get that much worse. So even if it gets slightly better.
I like how you started the interview going like, you're going to say some stuff about Jerry Reinsdorf. You knew me so well, Sean. You know it. Like, that's why you got it. Yeah, I think everybody else says bad stuff about him, right? I mean, does everybody else say? Am I the only one? Because they had that podcast row, and they never sent my invite. I got left out. I feel like I may say too much about him. Like maybe I need to be nicer. Yeah, we'll talk afterwards. You tell me like where the line is, because I don't know where the line is. I have no idea, but I clearly crossed it.
I think I've crossed that line, but at some point they followed me. So I don't know if that's just because I do it at a certain point or whatever. But yeah, I've said exactly the words that you've said. And I've been like, should I say that on air? It's more just a reality, There's a start and there's an end.
I think anybody reasonable knows what we're saying is true. I think even Jerry knows it. Well, he sits in the dark and it's with his stogie like the evil owner from The Natural. That's how I picture him.
A guy that was on the cover of Cigar Aficionado in the early 90s, right, can't have like the healthiest of lungs. I'm just saying, like, you hear all these dangers of smoking, yet maybe it's just the millionaire healthcare.
And yet somehow he's still the owner of the White Sox.
Yeah, to our luck. Chris, thank you so much for your time. Why don't you plug Sox in the Basement and all the great work that you do with your own company, Broadcast in the Basement?
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, so Sox in the Basement's available on any podcast player, anywhere podcasts can be found, always at soxinthebasement.com. We have a YouTube channel we just started. I'm getting used to video. I was never a video guy. I was a radio guy. So, I still cringe when I see myself on camera. That's why I hide behind the microphone when I talk. This is how all my dating app pictures are, too. That way I can kind of hide myself a little bit. But Sox in the Basement, we're on twice a week. We try to take a big picture look at the White Sox. And then if you want to check out some of the other podcasts that we do on our network, broadcastbasement.com. A lot of local ones. I do one for the Village of Lamont, one for Evergreen Park. And I have a lot of other people that produce podcasts in my studio to support their businesses. So we do a little bit more than just White Sox stuff. I always say that, like, I'm the White Sox podcast, and it's just like one of the things that we do. But it's really because of the fact I love this team, and I can't shut up about them. Even when they're bad, I can't shut up about them.
Right? It's going to be our year 1 point. And maybe it's next year, and maybe it's 80 years from now. But at that point, it will be our year. Excited
will
for
the White Sox win the World Series first, or will Haley's Comet return? That's the real question. 2061. Haley's Comet comes back.
I'll take Haley's Comet. 2061 isn't that far away. Took 88 years last time. Chris, thank you so much. Enjoy more success at Sox in the Basement. And obviously, we're not going to wait 3 years to have you on next time.
Thanks, Sean. Go Crusaders.
Go Crusaders. Yes, that's how every guest should end their hit, okay? Anything else is disrespectful. All right, we're going to end the segment here. We're going to tell you about some great sponsors, and we'll be back here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We want to let you know about our friends over at Ray Chevrolet. Forget one day only. Black Friday is going on all month long at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake. Come in today to shop the Black Friday sales event and drive home with 10 to 30% off MSRP on new Chevrolet models, plus no payments for 120 days. Or check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories, you'll be sure to find the perfect vehicle for you. And as one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, they're able to keep their prices competitive, so you'll know you'll get a great deal, and you can know that you'll get a great deal with Ray's Price Promise. The price you see is the price you get. It's very convenient. It's very simple. There's no add-ons, no changes, no fees. Price you see is the price you get. That's the Ray's Price Promise. Go see for yourself. Don't miss out on their Black Friday sales event going on all month long for 10 to 30% off MSRP on new Chevrolet models, plus no payments for 120 days. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
Let's drive.
Let's drive.
Let's drive.
We also want to let you know about our friends over at Game Time. What time is it, Joseph?
Game time.
Woo-hoo. The Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The Bulls play in Detroit tonight, but the Hawks are in town. The Hawks take on the Devils over at the United Center. And if you're feeling a little bit adventurous, if you're like, hey, maybe I want to go see a Hawks game, I want to go see it before it gets over that 20,000 capacity when it's still in the teens, head over to Game Time. It's the way that you get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. That's the Game Time guarantee. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. And the best part about Game Time, worry about getting down here. Worry about finding parking. Because the closer you wait, the closer it gets to Game Time, the prices do go down on the Game Time app. It is the best way to snag tickets for whatever event you want to go to. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Tap, ticket, go. Download the app today, the Game Time app today. We want to let you know that we're back here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We have some chats. Also, thank you to Chris Lenuti for joining us. Go check out Sox in the Basement. Him and Ed do a fantastic job. They also have Sox Nerd come on, and he does a wonderful job of providing tidbits. You'll learn more from his segment than, I wasn't going to say
like
my
a
show because that's the worst way to sell my show.
I was going to say, nothing like a bucket of tidbits and a side of fries.
It's a real good
coleslaw.
It's good. They're good tidbits, man.
Yeah, just pop them in your mouth.
Fresh tidbits.
Once you pop, can't stop.
Sox and Cheese saying, do we think the odds of Caro getting traded just went up? What happened?
I don't know.
James Fegan tweeted out something about Chris Getz. Chris Getz said he doesn't foresee Grant Taylor starting next season, but instead handling more multi-inning relief outings. So, that's one thing, but that doesn't explain Caro. I'll go to Scott Merkin, and maybe there's something there. So maybe if there's a quote that I missed, let me know. I don't think that the chances have necessarily increased. Also, there's nothing from Scott Merkin.
Maybe he's just referencing. Maybe it's he hasn't gotten a chance to comment on the show in a little bit. Maybe he's just asking since the final game of the season, and as the offseason moves on,
nothing's changed.
It's ticked up, I guess.
Mainly just Caro and Teal play the same position. There's not really a future where I see them taking on another position from what we've heard. Doesn't seem like Teal would move to left. It doesn't seem like Teal would move to first base. While you do use two catchers more than you used to, catchers aren't catching 162. If you're playing Teal 100 games at catcher and Caro at 62 or whatever, I don't know if I want Teal as my DH or Caro at 100 games at catcher, Teal at 62, and then the other ones he's DHing. I think that there could be value in trading Caro, but I think the odds are still fairly low. I think that it's highly likely you'll see Montgomery, Mydroth, Teal, and Caro on the 2026 man roster. I'd say 97% chance that all four of those are on the 2026 opening day roster. And then KJ Russ saying the fact that Jerry has a multi-year plan to sell the team but refuses to spend to help this young core in the second rebuild in 8 years is enough for me to believe that this rebuild is going to fail. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. The idea is that Chris Getz is supposed to be building an organization, and he's pretty much building an organization to build his name in Major League Baseball, because the fact is, when Ishbia does take over in 2029, Getz won't have a ton of help, like Chris was saying, to build this into something that could be a powerhouse. Hopefully he builds a really decent framework of an organization, but the likelihood that Ishbia would take over and leave a GM that's been under the reins for around 6 years, I think is just unlikely. So I think it's more about, oh, no, Caro doesn't make any money, so Caro and Teal are cheap. So it's low. I mean, Caro is in pre-arb. Sorry, Sox and Cheese said more generally just with Jerry's constraints being confirmed. Montgomery, Mydroth, Teal, and Caro all make league minimum. They're all pre-arb. They're not going to make over $1 million. There's no financial
$780K, right?
It's something like that. 820. Yeah. I don't know the actual number for 2026, but I think it was 750. Then I think it was 780. I assume it's only going to move up, so I would assume like 810, 800K. But all those players should be under $4 million total. So yeah, I mean, there's no financial reason to move on from Caro. But no, the fact that KJ Russ brings up, you're either going to try to you're really trying to build an organization that will last 20 years. The Rays had 20 years of success. The Brewers haven't pushed on 20 years, but it does seem like their luck is continuing. And I think that this has probably been happening since 2014 or so, that the Brewers have been consistently an 85-win team. So it's about 12 years of success. It's about creating 12 years rather than what Chris said, where he's you got 6 years of a team, and if that doesn't work, it's time to tear it down and sell those pieces and start a new rebuild. I think it's what they're trying to avoid. That, hey, let's get a decent base where we can have these 100-win years if we have the right guys, but our baseline is similar to the A's, similar to the Rays, similar to the Brewers, where we won't be a 100-loss team, but if you see us losing 80 games in a season, you might see us lose 80 games in a season.
Yeah, when you talk about just the Brewers specifically, which actually isn't a bad blueprint for what the White Sox are trying to pull off right now in terms of a young a core that's always developed within your own system, and you're always looking for players on the fringes, and you're always trying to outsmart and be one step ahead of everyone else. 2014 is a good marker too, because that was also, keep in mind, like the Brewers don't have a high payroll because a lot of their guys are developed on their own, but they typically do add anywhere between sometimes 20 to 30 million in short-term contract free agency year in and year out. It isn't a huge splashy move that they usually do, but like there's always a Rhys Hoskins, or they'll trade for CC Sabathia for half a season. Like they'll get aggressive in the middle instead of the high end. So even those teams that develop guys end over end every single year still go out and spend a little bit of money at a time.
Yeah, and the White Sox like have not spent. There was the window like where they spent around $185 million. So it's not like Jerry has never spent before, but it has to be the right place, the right time, and I think that's what they're trying to avoid is, you know, maybe the right player comes along in a free agent cycle, but as we could see, like the Machado Harper thing, that was twice in one season. It really hasn't come around since. I mean, maybe Soto, but obviously Soto was exorbitant to the point where the White Sox weren't even.
Or a guy possibly available in the trade market that might make anywhere between $27 to $29 million a year in San Diego. Who
it doesn't seem like that's happening though.
I understand,
like that's,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing that makes me like kind of upset, because there's kind of two truths to this moving forward. Is like yesterday, and you were talking about it, like you talked about Fernando Tatis for 25 minutes, and you got some pushback on it being clickbait or whatever.
Yeah, but those people also just didn't watch it. Just shout out to them.
No. But I'm just saying, like, what that whole conversation is and what that is, and when we talk about Jerry's constraints being confirmed and we know he's never going to spend money, it's almost like it's a Jedi mind trick that Jerry is just trying to convince you that he's never going to do it, so we should all just shut up about it. And that's unfair, and that's not fair to the fandom of being a White Sox fan. You should always be put. Now, I'm not saying like White Sox fans, if they don't go out and get Aaron Judge in a trade, then they're stupid, right? There's realism, and then there's something that's a little bit more delusional. But for the White Sox to not target or try and get optimistic or try and be pie in the sky, there's nothing wrong with that. If it doesn't happen, you always chalk it up to, well, this is part of the historical past of what this recent ownership group has decided to do. But the fact that you can't have that conversation, it is literally, you're doing the ownership's work for them by saying, well, let's never talk about it because it's never going to happen.
Right, and a good deal's a good deal. And if you were going to give them a good deal in 2019, what's the difference in now in 2026, where it's the same deal practically? It's 6 years later. Money's only gone up in value. Like it's what Chris said. It's just another excuse. It's not actual action. It's not something to move the franchise forward.
Yeah, if Tatis has $297 left on his deal, I think that's what we said yesterday, and you offered $275 to Manny Machado 9 years ago. Guess what? Like that contract's actually cheaper now than the Manny Machado money you were offering 6 years ago.
In the same damn place too. In the 29, I guess.
And the player's probably younger.
That would have been the same year too, right? Machado would have been on the 19 Sox, or would he have been on the 20 Sox? He would have been on the 19 Sox.
Correct.
So that was just after I think they lost 100 games. It's like the same exact spot where they were 6 years ago.
Well, and maybe let's just be honest. Like it doesn't make them better or worse. It's just maybe Kenny had Jerry's ear in a different way, or maybe he just pitched it better, or maybe and it isn't about Getz trying to become a better pitch man to
I think
Jerry.
It's more about spending the money that Jerry was going to give you, a limited budget, wisely. I mean, Chris brings up the Dominican establishment. He brings up the international scouting. Like, you know, you could put all your eggs into the free agent basket, but that just hasn't really worked out for the White Sox. So let's spread our eggs out to international free agents. Let's spread our eggs out to the draft. Let's spread our eggs out to trades, minor free agents, but nothing too grand. Like
instead of Adam LaRoche, I get it. But
where, hopefully Ishbia comes in and they continue to do those small eggs in the tiny basket. And then when they can, have their billionaire buy more eggs.
Yeah.
Put more eggs into the free agent basket while still having eggs in other simultaneous baskets. Maybe that's where they take the leap.
And I kind of just push back even at the concept of, when we talked about the Brewers thing, I think you laid out a pretty compelling case. I think it was last week about there's no reason why the Sox can't do Josh Bell or Rhys Hoskins plus a Jose Quintana plus a couple pieces in the bullpen plus maybe a fourth outfielder. There's no reason why they can't do that and increase their payroll just a little bit to put something around some of these younger guys and protect them by putting capable veterans around them. There's nothing wrong with pushing on that.
Even what I proposed, I'm $5 million under the $85 million expected payroll, and even then, it still feels like a whimper of a team. If they were able to spend like $15 more million, it might be a little bit more of a punchy team. Matt, because I wanted to talk about Alex Lange, and now we're pretty much at the end of 45 minutes. So let's run through the Alex Lange talk. Alex Lange was DFA'd by the Detroit Tigers. It might be a familiar name. Do you remember the guy with the turtleneck? Yeah, that's Alex Lange, the only guy with a turtleneck. I'm excited about Lange being DFA'd. I'd like the White Sox to pick him up. He was pretty much the Tigers' quasi-closer in 2023, was not named officially by A.J. Hinch to be the closer, but was put into that situation often. Dealt with an injury in 2024. He had to repair an avulsion in his right lat. He returned on June 17th of 2025. Here are his minor league numbers. These are from @TJ Stats. The Stuff Plus isn't anything, worrying. A 105 Stuff Plus on his knuckle curve. That is his best pitch. It's a reverse gyro ball. It's a death ball. It's kind of like what I want from Sean Burke. It's got less dip, but it's got really no horizontal movement. It's a really weird pitch, and it's a real outlier. I'm excited for that. He doesn't have a fastball that I think he trusts, or a fastball shape that he trusts. Doesn't get enough rise on his four-seam fastball to make it effective enough, and I don't think he gets enough sink on his sinker to make it effective enough. Maybe you go to a cut fastball, but again, what is his wrist able to do? Is he a pronator? Is he a supinator? Unsure. He does throw a changeup that's okay, but he lost the effectiveness from 2023 to 2025. Is that something they could possibly fix for 2026 and add a third pitch to maybe cover the defects of his four-seam fastball or sinker? I do think it's a person worth kicking the tires on. You always look for outliers, guys that are weird, and this is one of the best pitches in Major League Baseball, this knuckle curve. He was very good with the Detroit Tigers, and I think it's mainly, injury that kept him back, and the stats that he put up aren't too terrible. 25 and a third innings pitched in minor league baseball, 11.4 K per nine to 5.4 walk per nine. That's similar where he was around Major League Baseball, with an offseason to rehab, with an offseason to return. I think that this is a guy worth kicking the tires on. Joe, do you have the other one too? Let's go to the major leagues. This is just in 2023. Can you even make this a little bit bigger, because my old eyes can see this? The knuckle curve back when he was healthy in 2023, Stuff Plus of 105, so kind of where he was. And you could see that, the Stuff Plus hasn't even really dropped off that much from what we saw in 2025 in the minor leagues to where he was in 2023, being trusted with 63 innings, throwing a 3.71 ERA. 105 Stuff Plus on his knuckle curve, 99 sinker, Stuff Plus on his sinker, 97 Stuff Plus on his changeup, 99 Stuff Plus on his four seam. That's pretty much exactly where he is right now. If they're just able to tweak a little bit of something, whether it's chasing induced vertical break and getting that four seamer to rise a little bit, you kind of see that circle, that pink circle there in the middle, where his four seamers are. You want them more in the upper half of that circle. That would be more vertical break. So maybe it is about finding that certain fastball. I think the reason why they went to a sinker there is you could see the overlap between that kind of purple magenta and that orange in that right-hand side. So it kind of shows you that the sinker and changeup have similar movements. So it's not really about the depth or the horizontal break. It's more about the 5 miles per hour or so difference between the changeup and curveball. But they're able to get a little bit more sink on that sinker, or maybe even just a little bit more dip on that changeup. I think he really could be a worthwhile 7th inning arm, and the Sox don't have much of that. Maybe he can also just be a high leverage arm. Chris Getz mentioned that Grant Taylor won't be a starter in 2026, but he'll be a multi-inning guy. So if he's not your closer in the 9th inning, is Alex Lange that guy? I would like the White Sox to kick the tires. We will have some Rule 5 stuff cleared up at, I guess it's now live, but we're going to end the show. We'll have some Rule 5 stuff to talk about next week. I might look to book my guy Thomas Nestico, TJ Stats, who put together a ton of Rule 5 stuff. We'll try to find who the White Sox, we'll narrow down who the White Sox pick with that Rule 5 pick, 2nd overall in December, well before the end of November. All right, I think we're going to be sickos about the Rule 5 draft this year. Thank you to Chris Lenuti. Go Crusaders. We are BR. Go check out Sox in the Basement. Thank you so much, Chris, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Joey, thank you to you for producing. We will see you tomorrow. No, we will see you next week because we've done our 3 shows for this week. We'll see you next week when we do our another shows and we find the next Rule 5 pick of the White Sox. Mwah, goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.